Hey, welcome back to another episode of Wholesaling the Cool Way with me, Mark Cool, and Jasper Cool, my son. And we're here talking about wholesaling businesses and the nuts and bolts and ins and outs and victories and challenges and everything else. So Jasper's got a business doing primarily houses here, and we both work in the North Carolina market. And then I do specialized in vacant land for a while. I do more houses now and also some creative stuff, owner financing and subject to and stuff like that. So we'll just break down our week and hopefully it's of value. So let's start off with anything inspiration and education. Anything you're reading or listening to, Jasper, this last week?
Yeah, definitely. So I started this book. I could find this title. I think it's called A Memoir About Wealth. I think that's the title. Yeah, Memoir About Wealth by Jennifer Reisher or Fisher. Reisher or Fisher. Either way, that one's been interesting. It's just I mean it's not like a biography, but it kind of is. I guess it's like I don't know what that's called, like an editorial almost, just written in the first person.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Maybe it is a biography, I guess. I don't know. But I've been liking that book. It talks about her experience just, throughout her career. And it was cool to hear about like when she was graduating college, her friend was like, let's move to Seattle and like share an apartment together because her friend had gotten a job at Microsoft. And at the time, no one knows what Microsoft is. And she's like, oh, I'm moving to Seattle. Like, why are you working at Microsoft? Like, what is this? And so, long story short, she moves to Seattle. And then her friend gets the job at Microsoft, but she didn't have any job offers. So she's looking, and she just can't find anything. And then she ends up taking an internship like for free at Nordstrom. And so she starts working at Nordstrom and then she takes a marketing job at one of these huge marketing things, something in Ericsson. I forget the name now, but it's like one of these huge marketing companies now. And then her next position, her friend convinces her to like join Microsoft, and she works there, she's able to like get her in there. And so then she works at Microsoft, and then it like goes through her journey there and stuff, and how they were giving stock options to all these people because they didn't really have much to offer, but they were like, hey, like we'll give you like a low salary, but we'll give you a bunch of stock options. But it took 4 years for those to vest. And so after 4 years there, she was like, oh shit, I have like $500,000 on paper now. Like, and she was in her early 20s. So that was huge. And especially in the
Yeah.
90s, that's probably more like $1 million today. And so like she's continuing working there, and she met her husband there, and he started before her. So his stock options are worth like $3 million.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and so then they're just like it's talking about their journey on like dealing with this newfound wealth because they're not technically rich yet because it's just on paper, but they just see these stock options that are going up and up and up and up and up. And so they're talking about like how they're dealing with their childhood trauma of like, should we spend this money? Like, should we do this? Should we go on a nice vacation? All this stuff. So I've been enjoying that so far. And then now I'm at the point where her husband is like, hey, I got this job offer from Amazon. And she's like, what's Amazon? Like, don't leave Microsoft. Like, we have all these stock options and stuff. It's just funny to hear like Seattle was the place to be in the 90s, apparently.
Yeah.
It's just like all these massive, massive companies were all being started at the same time. So really
Yeah.
cool.
Even like that's where CD Baby was, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
wasn't as big of a company, but that's where he made his money.
Yeah. So I guess that was like the Silicon Valley before Silicon Valley, and then everyone moved like slightly down to San Francisco, but it's cool. So yeah, I've been enjoying that book. It's nothing, I guess, really tactical that I took away from it, but I've just been kind of enjoying hearing the story and inspired by, the humble beginnings of those companies. It's pretty cool. And then I watched this other video by Chandler Sane. I mentioned him before, but he's got like a really small YouTube channel and he puts out a lot of value. It's funny because when you look at his channel, he's obviously trying to copy Alex Hormozy, like pretty much everyone is these days. When you look at the thumbnails, they're just exactly stolen from Hormozy. But the videos themselves are very good. And it reminds me of when Hormozy first started, where he's just like literally sitting in his office with a spreadsheet or a document and just like, kind of talking over it and stuff. So, anyways, this one was valuable for me. It was he was talking about doing market analysis within your business. So I thought I'd share this online so that anyone listening could do it and as well with you. So I did it this week, and basically there are two different studies that he recommends that you do. Number one is you take the 15 biggest deals that you've ever done in your career, So it doesn't have to be, within a certain time frame. So I did that. And he recommends that you just try to find a trend within that data. And so that you can double down on things that are producing the biggest deals for you, obviously. And so unfortunately, I didn't find it a very strong trend in mine. But I did kind of find a trend though. So I will share my data and then I'll share his data as well. But the trend that he was doing this for like his clients because now he works with people and tries to help them grow their wholesale businesses. So a trend that he found with his clients was that 3 bedroom, 2 bath was like their sweet spot for doing big deals. Like those properties produce bigger deals. And we've talked about this in past episodes that those seem to
Yeah.
be the best for us as well. And so for me, I noticed pretty much the same. Most of them were 3-1 or 3-2. So that was for me. I had three here that were 4-2s, so slightly bigger. But it looks like right about 3-2 is a sweet spot, and that was the most that was on my list. That was over half were 3-2s. And then on his, he was also looking at the list that they came from and just classifying that broadly, like whether it's an absentee list, owner occupied, tax delinquent, etc. And so for me, the most common was one that I call no filter, which is actually not absentee or owner occupied, but just including them both. So that's a list that I pull. Once you pull all the absentee and the owner occupied separately, you kind of have to pull them together. So it's funny that that ended up being my best list in terms of this biggest deals thing. So that was kind of interesting. Second best was absentee, and then lastly was owner occupied. So that was the stats for me. And then marketing channel, he recommends you break it down. My marketing channel for me, it was basically like 80% SMS, and there were only 3 deals out of I actually did 16 deals, not 15, but 3 deals out of the 16 were cold call and the rest were from SMS. And then he recommends that you break it down by exit strategy as well. For me, I don't really do many exit strategies, just pretty much wholesale. And then sometimes I'll buy it and put it on the market. So 2 of these were the ones that I put on the market, but surprisingly, the rest of these big deals were wholesales. So just strict assignments. And then I think the last thing that would be important, I guess, is the property type. So I have been in there as well. These were all not all of them. They were mostly single family, but there were 4 manufactured homes. So I thought that was interesting
Mhm.
because I bet if I did a study on the data that's in my system, I bet it would be like 90-10 single family to manufactured homes if I broke it down. And it's interesting that out of that, 4 were in my biggest deals of manufactured homes, and the rest were single family, of course. But I was like, I bet if I broke it down and did a ratio of like how many manufactured leads I have versus single family, it would be like a really I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but that manufactured are better than single family, basically,
Yeah.
is what
It's
I'm
just
seeing
skewed.
here.
It's skewed because of what you've been going after. But if you were doing more
Yeah.
manufactured, you might be doing more big deals.
Yeah. So yeah, that was interesting. I just want to share that. I don't want to go too in depth, but the second one he recommended you do is do the same thing, kind of like break down all the counties that you just found that are working for you and kind of go in depth on those counties, which is taking the total number of leads that you have by county, total number of contracts you've gotten by county, and then total number of closed deals per county, and then total number of canceled deals per county. So you can kind of see how many leads each county is producing you, what those ratios are looking like in terms of leads to contract per county. And then in terms of contracts, which county is giving you like the best rate in terms of closing and not like canceling deals left and right. So I did that study too. And it was very, very cool to see that one as well. And so I guess I'll share this with you. So Hoke was the best for me. Durham was second, Harnett was third, Cumberland was fourth. So those are my top 4. The rest kind of drop off pretty strongly. Those 4 were all pretty close. Hoke and Durham being number 1 and 2 by far, and then the other 2 were about tied as well. And then one interesting thing within that data. So then I did the percentage of contracts that close. So this is not cancel rate, but close rate. So
Yeah.
92% for me in Hope, 92%. So that means 8% of my contracts fall out, which is very interesting for me to see. 87% in Durham, which I would expect that because that's a strong county for us. 74% in Harnett, so getting lower, and then 60% in Cumberland, so not that great, honestly. But interesting to see that Hoke and Durham not only are my best counties in terms of the best ROI, but it's also the strongest that we're getting contracts to closing. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I did other stuff too, like average profit per deal by county, and all this other stuff. But I sorted them by the highest ROI. So that's how I determined the best counties. But yeah, I could share this with you and go in more depth offline, but I'll keep it brief here. I already went in depth a little bit, so that's it for
Yeah,
me.
that's great. I love that. I want to do more of that. I've been waiting on my Podio to get upgraded so that my KPIs are more easy to grab. But I love doing
Yeah,
stuff like that too. It really helps you to dial down and be more profitable and successful.
yeah,
That's why we track that stuff.
definitely.
Good to get a reminder like that you can go in different directions or think different in different ways about how to analyze the data.
Yeah.
You got anything else for education inspiration?
No, I was just gonna wrap it there because I went in depth on that one. So
Oh, that's all right. It's good stuff.
yeah.
Um,
But if
yeah,
anyone's interested, I can send that video to you and you can link it in the comments that the video I was referencing. It
yeah,
shows
definitely.
it shows you how to do the thing I was talking about. So
We'll put it in the notes.
yeah.
Well, I've been on sort of a hiatus from reading books lately, which is weird for me, but I haven't been doing a lot of actual book reading or even podcast listening. Sometimes I need to take a break.
Yeah, it's all
Uh,
good.
yeah, I've been back to doing my Abraham Hicks stuff in the morning because that gets my mind right. So that's just about the law of attraction and setting intentions for what I want. So it's good reminders for me. I've
Yeah.
been doing that on YouTube, and that's what I've been consuming rather than consuming instructional or other stuff. And then for inspiration, man, I know you probably watching some of the Olympics, Jasper, but the women's 4x4 relay, the 400 meter, that was intense with U.S. and Jamaica. Those
Yeah.
women are so fast. And just watching the U.S. pull it out in I can't remember the fourth woman's name, but she was flying the fourth leg. But the third and fourth leg both were awesome. Just really cool to see those elite athletes. And I watched some Michael Phelps too, him doing the butterfly. I think the 400 meter butterfly also. He won gold, and that guy's been in like 4 Olympics and winning gold medals. It's just amazing his dominance and his high level of performance. So definitely inspired by that. People who just get hyper focused and committed to something and become the best in the world and show out on the biggest stage. Really cool to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed watching some of that stuff. Also, the Philippines. This is fun because both you and I, Jasper, have team members in the Philippines. But did you see that they won their first ever gold medal?
No, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, they got their first ever gold medal in the Olympics, and it was a female weightlifter. She did
Oh,
a
cool.
overhead press, like a clean and press, and she
Yeah,
won the gold. Yeah,
that's cool. I haven't even seen any of the weightlifting events. That's cool.
yeah. So it was just cool to see because it was a milestone for their country. So
Yeah,
pretty fun.
that's
And
huge.
she was very excited and emotional about it. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I've got for inspiration. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to try and dig for something.
It's all
Sometimes
good.
I'm not prepared for this either. Sometimes I've done stuff, but I forgot what I did during the week because it's been such a busy week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were on the deal lab, obviously, and it's always a good learning uh, experience there.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go into business check-in. So yeah, we normally that's just KPIs. If you want to check in about KPIs and any stories about your deals and victories and challenges, etc. Just a synopsis of the week in business.
Absolutely. Let's do it. So, I think I'll just start with KPIs first. And for this week, looks like we got 106 leads. There's a bit down because we ran into our monthly limit for launch control. It's interesting. We always tend to run into it like a week or so early, even though we don't text every day. So it's interesting. But anyways, the last week-ish, we tend to have slightly like fewer leads because we're reached our monthly limit and launch, and so we can't send out as many texts as we are. So we're just dealing with replies that are trickling in, but still got 106 leads, which is solid, and put out 107 offers this week. and we got 3 contracts. Um, we sold we sold 3 this week. Okay, that's awesome. And
Nice.
then
Here's the bell. 3 contracts, 3 sold.
yeah, thank you. So yeah, we sold 3 deals, 3 contracts, 2 closings, and 1 5-star review. That's what I'm talking about. So that was
Sweet.
awesome. Yeah.
That's great that you're consistently getting those.
Yeah, it seems like we've been averaging about 1 a week this month, which is awesome. So if I can
Yeah.
keep that up, I
One a
get,
week, that's 52 a year.
yeah, that'd be awesome. Because like I shared before, my goal is 50 this year. We're at 33 now, so we're getting closer. We're getting closer, and we've got more than 17 weeks left in the year. I think. I think we got more than 17. I think it's like 30 weeks left in the year or something. I don't know. I don't know, but I think we have a chance. Is my point. So I'm excited
Yeah.
about that. But yeah, it was a great review and it was really sweet. This guy's been a pleasure to work with. He's a nice guy, but he actually called Mike and like asked him how to leave a review and he talked him through it over the phone. And so going forward, I recorded just a really quick Loom video that we'll send to sellers as well that just shows them how to leave a review, but they can also call us. But that was really sweet that he reached out and like made sure that he left us a review. It was really nice.
Nice.
We get some sellers where we like ask them for a review and they literally just text back 5 stars and we're like, well, that doesn't count, but like,
Yeah.
thank you, you know.
Even when
But
they go on Google, we have a few on Google that they don't say any comment. They just hit 5 stars,
yeah,
which is nice, but it's a whole lot better if they actually leave some comment, some
yeah,
feedback.
yeah. But yeah, that always feels good. So that was awesome. And then I guess I could share a clothing story for one or both of these real quick. Um, for the closed deals we got this week. So one of them we're still working through because we got movers scheduled for the 31st. So hopefully all goes well with that. This one we contracted a while back, but the seller was just an older guy, and sometimes you just can't rush people to move their stuff out. Even when you offer to do it for them, it's not they don't want to move their stuff out just yet. So you gotta be patient. But yeah, with this guy, it looks like this lead came in February of this year, and we contracted him in June. So followed up with him for 3 or 4 months there. But he came from a campaign from a long time ago. This was a Driving for Dollars campaign from like 2021 or whatever, 2022, a long time ago.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And this one was actually a cold call lead. So it was a list that we were, kind of rotating back because I never give up on my Driving for Dollars list because even though I built it years ago, we still get deals from it consistently. So we were obviously rotating that list through. And then we got his lead in February, contract in June, and then we closed it this past week. So what's that? June to mid-July, I guess it's about 45 days ish from contract to close. And then thankfully the buyer was willing to give him a week after closing to move the rest of his things out. So that was really helpful. And then, like I said, we're setting up a moving company to move his stuff from his house to his storage unit and then move it to his apartment after that. But just wanted to move his stuff out of the house so the buyer can take over.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. I mean, I guess it wasn't a super exciting deal breakdown because it was pretty smooth. Seller was super nice guy, older guy, really easy to work with. It's funny, he called me like every week and he asked, can we give him more money for the house? And like in a playful way, but it was just fun. He was a nice guy, fun guy.
Well,
Uh,
what's really sticks out for me is that it was a Driving for Dollars lead from 3 years ago. That's pretty
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And that's not the first one that we closed this year. I think we've closed like maybe a handful of Driving for Dollars deals from years and years ago. So it's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome that you like that effort you put in all that time ago is paying off.
Yeah. Yeah, I should go back sometime and drive again. Just like pound it for a week really hard in Durham, and then and then I'll have like another few hundred or maybe 1,000 or something. But yeah, so there's that one, and then the other one was a bit more of a struggle. Um, but we got it closed. This was a long like timeline to close as well, much longer than that other one. So we contracted this one in May, late May, and then we closed this month. So that's like 2 full months that we were under contract. This guy, same thing, owner occupied, and he was moving out and stuff. So we just kind of had to give him time. He was also closing on another house, and so unfortunately, the buyer did not really come through for me on this one, but he did close the deal, so I'll give it to him. But I asked him to close on this date, make sure we can close on this date because the seller needed these funds to buy his next house. And, long story short, we just totally didn't do that. So I felt a little bit frustrated with that, but we still got it closed. So actually, this campaign was from 2022 also. That's hilarious. This is from April 2022. We launched this campaign.
Wow.
And that was during the year, 2022 was my year where I pretty much marketed in every single county in North Carolina. I was just throwing stuff against the wall, as they say, and testing a bunch of stuff. I'm glad I did that because I learned which counties are my favorites and stuff. But this one was in New Bern. It's not a county that I would necessarily recommend, and not a county that I've marketed in since. But I've gotten 2 deals this year from 2022, so it's hilarious. But I'll take it. We're still making money, I guess. But it's much harder to sell there. I had like very few offers, and yeah, but I still got it sold, so that was good. And then we were delayed like 3 or 4 days. The seller was super upset. We did not get a 5-star review, but we ended up closing it.
Yeah, that's a bummer when you have those situations you can't control, and then you can't
Yeah.
ask for a good review.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a bit of a bummer, but still 2 closings this week as a major victory, as
Hmm.
well as 3 contract resold. So that's awesome. Yeah, and other victories. I hired what is going to be a lead manager for me in the short term, hopefully transition into like a full-on like team lead for me, hopefully, and become like more of a manager of the team. It sounds like he has experience doing stuff like that, growing teams, hiring people, onboarding people, putting together processes, stuff like that. So major shout out to you for connecting us. Appreciate that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been awesome. We only had one full day together. We weren't able to work on Friday because of major weather and stuff in the Philippines. But just in our first day, like when I extended him the job offer, he accepted the job offer. Before I even sent him like our contract for the position and everything like that, he already had found a Podio developer and he was already working on something else I brought up to him. So I appreciate that, and looks like it's going to be a good hire in the
Yeah, he
long term.
seems like a
So
really good guy.
yeah, so I'm hopeful that it's going to work out well, and that can be the hire that I've been looking for. Hopefully I can step out a little bit. And I've already had like more time, even though like it's obviously harder in the beginning because you have to train these people. So you put in double time in the beginning, but then you get more time back in the long run. But even though I've been putting in more time, like in the business in the short term, training, putting together videos and stuff, I've noticed my headspace is already clearing up more. And I've done stuff like I did this market analysis study yesterday. Like
Yeah.
I've just had more ideas coming to me. And so it's felt awesome so far. It's only been like 2 days, so I'm excited. Hopefully it'll
I think
continue.
that's the thing though, like we were talking about on text, is there's nervousness and fear around hiring somebody and like what's going to happen, and there's excitement, but then it frees up mental space pretty fast. Yeah.
Mhm.
Who, not how in action.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't really like fully handed off anything yet because we've only had one full day together, but it's still been, yeah, it's already felt like a weight off my shoulders just to have
Just knowing
another,
you have somebody coming in. Yeah.
yeah, someone else to help. So yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, so that's been a huge victory for me. In addition to that, I mean, I already shared the closings and everything. I think that's mostly it for victories this week. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. We had one deal that we've been under contract on. I find the exact stats here. Been under contract on March, since the end of March. And I haven't been super pleased with my closing attorney because I thought we could close this a long time ago. But anyways, we're finally got the clear to close and hopefully closing next week. So I'm excited about that. And the seller is super excited about that. But
Good.
it was like another one of those old deed of trust issues. And we were just going to file an attorney satisfaction, but you have to wait 30 days, send them a letter, wait 30 days, all that stuff. But the first time the company actually responded to him. So then he had to send another follow-up and wait another 30 days. I'm like, oh my gosh. But it seems like we've been waiting longer than 30 days the second time. So I was following up with him. And I was like, dude, are you sure we can't close this yet? But he finally filed the thing and now we can close next week. So that's exciting. Yeah, but I think that's pretty much it for me for this week.
Awesome. Great week.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
So,
yeah, well, so I'll start off with our numbers. We sent out 20 offers on 20 SMS lead. We had 20 SMS leads. Like I said, I haven't tweaked it so that we get the cold calling leads. I don't look it up because my acquisitions lead manager does all that stuff, manages the cold caller. So we've been averaging 15 or 20 leads from the cold caller week. So probably we had around 40 leads this week, which is a little low for us. We generally like to be 50 to 60 leads, but 20 offers is a little bit low. We had one of our acquisitions people out for, well, both of them were out a little bit this week with weather and personal stuff. So, but still, keeping things moving. We got 2 contracts, which is great. Uh, Always good to get new contracts. Those are both vacant land, and I don't know where they're at, but I think they're both SMS, I believe. Let me see if I can pull it up really quickly. Contracts. We got one in Edgecombe and one in Wilson. So those are SMS campaigns that I'm pretty sure that we're doing over there. And yeah, we got no solds this week. We got a bunch of stuff in process. Let's see. Our dispo, we have 15 properties in dispo. One of those doesn't really count because it's something we bought and then the buyer canceled on us. So we're just kind of holding it and trying to figure out how to get it sold. And then we got another one that's 2 properties that we got a price reduction on this week. So that's may actually move now. It's been kind of sitting. We got a couple of new ones, but yeah, it's crazy. We have in the teens of properties. We have somewhere between 12 and 13 actual properties for sale right now. So it's a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot to manage. But it's good. It's good that we have all that stuff. A
Yeah.
lot of them are pretty good properties. And then as far as closings go, it was a really busy week in the transaction coordination world. We had 4 properties scheduled to close last week, and we closed 0 of those 4
Oh
properties.
man.
Yeah, it's one of those weeks. So, and I can tell stories about why they didn't close or what's happening for, just for people to, you know, see what's behind the scenes on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so four scheduled, they all got pushed to the next week. They should all close this coming week, but kind of frustrating also because we need some cash to come back into our business this week to be able to close one that we're doing an ABBC on. Uh, and I was expecting that cash to come in Friday so we could close this one on Monday. So like just one of those logistical nightmares. That's why I was working on the Blue Vine thing, Jasper, because I was trying to get Blue Vine set up to make an easier transfer and have people wire to Blue Vine because my other bank, there's like a lag time and
Yeah.
all this stuff. So, but Blue Vine is not, my account's under review and they're letting me know.
Oh man.
It's like I had to call in and say, what's going on. They're like, oh, well, we'll let you know in a few days, via email, your account's being reviewed or something. So I don't
Oh
know.
gosh.
It was because I had a previous account and they somehow made the connection, even though I used a new email. For those listening, Bluevine is a pretty good bank for business banking. Jasper uses it. I've sort of had an account, but never could really fund it because there was some weird thing where they were trying to send me a verification code and I couldn't ever get the code. And I tried to call them and I couldn't get anybody on the phone who could help me. So I ended up canceling the account and starting with a new email to open a new account and see if I could just get one set up. The reason to use Bluevine is because they do allow wire transfers directly from your account. And I have a Grasshopper account, which is another online bank, and you can wire transfer from there, but their features are much more limited than Bluevine or Novo, which is another online bank that both Jasper and I have used for business banking. So if you're looking at business banking, there are a variety of features. Grasshopper does allow wire transfer. They're very slow bank to bank. When I send money from Novo to Grasshopper, it always takes them a few days and it's always annoying.
Mm.
And so it's like, that's what I was saying. When I have money in my Novo account, I can't just close a deal and send the money to the lawyer. I have to send it to either my credit union account or Grasshopper to be able to wire it to the attorney. And so it takes lag time. So, and when you're trying to close deals, it's good to just be able to wire the money in on the same
Yeah.
day and get it done. So anyway, just a brief sidebar on online banking and things that we've tried and used. I'm not, Grasshopper is good because they do give you some interest on your standing balances, which is another reason to have Bluevine, because the higher you upgrade your account, the more interest they pay you on what you keep in the account monthly. So that's another reason I wanted to have Bluevine. Grasshopper's interest is a little bit lower and Novo pays no interest, but Novo has like, Nobody has a really nice interface, and they have the ability to partition off money. You can like funnel money into like a tax savings account or a reserves account. You can set up different types of reserves in there, which I like. Grasshopper
Yeah.
doesn't have that. So anyway, they all have their pros and cons, but sidebar on that. So that's kind of like I guess I can just check in with the challenges on some of the closings, just for fun.
Hmm.
We have 4 closings that we're supposed to close this week. Next week we will have 5 because we had one already scheduled for the 31st. And that's like 70 grand ish in money coming in next week if they all close.
Nice.
So yeah, speaking of lawyer issues, I can talk to lawyer issues on a couple of these actually, which
Oh
tends to be a
man.
thing, right? So we have this one deal that we have 2 deals that we bought to sell, and one of them we bought because the buyer wanted to use their attorney, and so I put our attorney in touch with their attorney and said, "Why don't you do our closing documents and interface with them to make sure this closes on time?" So we set those attorneys up to communicate, which is always I've found always a crappy situation because the attorneys tend to really be poor at communicating with each other and keeping stuff on time, in my
Yeah.
experience. Um, so if I'm not managing it and I have 2 different attorneys, then it tends to stuff falls through the cracks or get delayed in my
Yeah.
experience. So anyway, this our attorney communicated with the buyer's attorney, then came back to us and said they won't do an assignment. They want you to double close this. And so it was supposed to close like 2, 3 weeks ago. And so now we're like, okay, great. Now we have to double close this and buy it from the seller, and they wanted a week of seasoning, right? They didn't want to just close it after. They didn't want to just double close. And so anyway, so we bought the thing, and then we thought it was closing. That's we bought it, and then we asked our attorney, "Hey, did the seller docs get approved? Are we on track to schedule? I mean, to close?" And they say, "Yes, we're closing on Friday. We already communicated with them. The seller docs are approved." So we're like, "Great." So I bust my ass to get our seller docs notarized and everything, and down
Yeah.
the attorney on time. And then I've sent them an email like, these are coming to your office tomorrow morning. Please let us know about closing. And then I heard nothing, so I sent another email on the closing day on Friday, like, "Hey, tracking shows these documents are in your office. It's 9:30 a.m. Are we closing today?" "Oh, we weren't scheduled to close this day. We're doing this next week." And I was like, "Oh, well, my lawyer said we're closing today." "Oh, no, no, no. We never said that."
Oh
And I
my
was like,
God.
"Well, I'm a little bit disappointed and a little bit annoyed because we already had to do a double closing on this because you guys don't do assignments." And then they come back and say, "Oh no, we do assignments. We just didn't like the way the contracts were worded, and we thought they were worded as a double close." And I was like, "Oh well, we use those contracts all the time for assignments. They say and or assigns and every bit of language in there."
Yeah.
But so anyway, just crazy lawyer stuff, right? Like our lawyer cost us basically $1,000 because they didn't communicate
Yeah.
properly from what the other lawyer said, which is that the other lawyer did do assignments. So they just needed some document to say it was being assigned. And so we could have closed this 2 weeks ago and saved $1,000 on closing and a lot of hassle. Um, but our lawyers didn't communicate properly. So
Yeah.
there's a horror story on that one. So now this other lawyer is saying they're going to do it Monday or Tuesday. I said, please do it Monday if you can, blah, 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 on and on. And we've
Yeah.
done a lot of bitching about lawyers on this. So I don't know how far I need to go down that. I guess it's just cautionary tales, right? The cautionary tale is don't trust your lawyers to communicate with other lawyers, um, get the facts yourself. I really wouldn't have thought to go back to the other lawyer and say, "Do you not do assignments?" Because I took my lawyer's word for it. So
Yeah.
that was kind of weird. And so then we had another one that we bought and that we're selling. And this one, the closing attorney for the buyer would not communicate with us. They were just only communicate with the buyer or our attorney. So that was kind of weird, that
Huh.
they just couldn't respond to me at all. And I had to go through 2 other people to talk to them about
Yeah.
where they
That's
were
weird.
closing. And this one, the taxes were supposed to be paid by our attorney when we bought it like a week or 2 ago. And the payment had not gone through or something. So that delayed that closing on Friday. Um, and that was 25 grand back into our account because we bought it and then we made assignment fees. So it would have been nice to have that.
Yeah.
This other one, this other one was our buyer is doing a B2C on top of our closing. So they're trying to do an A, B, B, C. So it was already pushed back a week. and then their transactional lender did not come through on Friday, so it got pushed again to Monday.
Oh no.
So our sellers are very, very frustrated, understandably, because they
Yeah.
did a huge price reduction for us. They've been waiting since January when we went under contract because of tenant issues and eviction and all this crazy shit.
Oh my gosh.
And then we told them, yeah, it'll absolutely close, and they're desperate for the money, so they're like, yeah, we're going to get the check on Saturday. We asked them to overnight it, and then I have to tell them on Friday, oh, it didn't close, sorry,
Oh gosh.
like, just very frustrating. And yeah, the transactional lender and all this crap. So again, like, I don't know, there's not much I can control there, really.
Yeah.
And then the other one was a subject to that we've been working on for a while, and we pushed that to Monday because I don't even remember why. Because, oh yeah, we're dealing with an attorney with paralegals that couldn't get the subject to documents straight, and it was like days of back and forth with paralegals, trying to get these documents right. So that should
Jeez.
close on Monday, but again, we need the funding to close it on Monday because all of our deals that were supposed to close on Friday did not close, and now our account's too low to do the A to B on this. So frustrating. And that's the thing, like, when you buy properties, then you have less money in your cash reserves to be able to do stuff like wire money in for an A to B, B to C. So
Yeah.
it's like a juggling act, like, oh, these should close this week, so we should be fine to close that one next week, and then they don't close, and then uh, so I guess that's me venting and being a little bit frustrated. I don't know if that's actually helpful for anybody listening, but other than just like stay on top of your transactions, if you're working with JV partners or people who are doing base BC, then you have to stay more on top of all of it. It's frustrating because, like Matt Larson says, if you have a good closing attorney, you don't need a transaction coordinator, but I've been doing a ton of transaction coordination and being on top of different lawyers and buyers and sellers and making sure everybody's on track and doing what they're supposed to do to get things closed. And
Yeah.
that's, it's a big energy drain and time drain. So I guess it goes back to just continuing to try different attorneys and see who is most efficient and effective and has the best service. And then I don't believe Matt really on that you don't need a transaction coordinator. I haven't met that lawyer yet, but I
Mhm.
still think you need somebody to be like checking with the seller, checking with the buyer, checking with the attorney, making sure everything's on track.
Yeah.
I don't think that. Anyway, I haven't met that attorney yet, so I would love to meet them. But uh, so that's my closing deals rant. But we should close 5 next week theoretically. Fingers crossed, right?
Sweet.
Crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, a bunch of these should close Monday. Looks like we have maybe 3 for Monday and 2 for Tuesday at this point, something like that. So
Nice.
that's just under the wire of the month, which would be good for a good start to January. I mean,
Yeah.
July, not January. First month of the third quarter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to start that off strong. Get some of these deals closed. I guess another victory I had this week was I've talked on a previous podcast about a seller that just completely ghosted us, and it was weeks and weeks. So then we ended up canceling with the buyer, who was totally ready to go. We were supposed to close this probably 4 weeks ago, and the seller completely 100% ghosted, just not responding to anything. And we did all the calling, texting, emailing, calling them from different phone numbers to see if we could get a response, and just total crickets. And so finally, last ditch effort, I just sent them an actual USPS letter and said, hey guys, we were set to close this a few weeks ago. We'd really love to still close it. We have filed a memorandum per our contract, and we do have grounds for filing a lawsuit based on breach of contract. We'd rather not have it go that way. We'd rather just talk to you and sort this out and get it closed if we can. And then they called. So crazy that writing a letter like that on our company letterhead. I think that's what prompted them to call.
Nice.
So they called in, and I talked to them on Friday, and I think they're going to close this deal, and it's a pretty good profit deal for us too, that we thought was completely dead. So I guess just persistence is a lesson there. Just continuing to persist and try every angle. We
Yeah.
weren't actually going to go to court because I'm really not convinced that specific performance suits work or do anything for us. So spending a lot of money and like going to court, and then maybe you get a judgment, maybe they pay it, maybe they don't. I don't know. We'll see. I know you've had success with one, but Matt Larson says it's kind of a waste of time, and I kind of, you know, take his experience into account on that.
Yeah.
So anyway, the good news on that is we could possibly close that this week also, which would be 6 deals if we
Sweet.
actually close that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that one was a good profit deal, so it could put us up, in the 80 to 90K this week closed range in
Yeah.
1 week,
That's
which would
huge.
be a great week. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a victory. And then we did get a price reduction, and I actually did the price reduction over email, which is silly, but sometimes I've had it work more than once where I just send an email and say, "Hey, really sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but we're not going to be able to do this at the price we agreed to. We've had an inspector go out there and this and that. And, the most we could do is this number." And the guy came back to me and said, "Yeah, I'm really sorry. Could you do 10 grand more than the number I named?" And so
Yeah.
we have there's a $15,000 price reduction. Um, so it might give us enough room to work and make a deal happen on that. So that's a victory. And
That's
I
great.
did
Yeah.
it without the difficult phone call. I just did an email because I really didn't, I hate to say this, but I really didn't care because the deal just like, we finally got into the house after these tenants wouldn't move for months. And then the
Uh-huh.
house was worse than we had anticipated. And then we found that, the flood zone issue and like the dirt road, like a few different buyers gave us feedback that the dirt road was in rough shape that goes back to the property and all this stuff. So we're just like, probably going to cancel this or price reduction. So
Yeah.
it's a victory to get a price reduction on it.
That's great.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's all I got. Like you, I have a new executive assistant in place, and he's doing good stuff to help our business get more organized. He's been working on the SOPs this week, and that's great, along with
Sweet.
working on our Podio and updating that. So that's awesome. And I can see the light at the end of the tunnel where I'll actually have more free time, and I'll be training him to do the transaction coordination stuff I was just griping about.
Yeah, definitely.
So that'll be off my plate, and he's a good organized guy, so he should be able to stay on top of things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got for that. And we didn't have any comments this week on YouTube, so if you guys have stuff, questions, or things you want us to hit more on, leave it in the comments or message us on Facebook, and we'll take a segment to address your comments and questions and concerns, or you know curiosities.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got anything else before we wrap it?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention to you in case you ever want to use them. Doubleclose.com is run by one of my friends, and they're great for double closing. So if you ever want to use
Okay.
them, they just charge 1% of the purchase price, but that's it. No other fees.
Okay.
So yeah, those guys are great though. I've come to them on the morning of closing, and they funded it by the end of that day. So they're super quick. And
Awesome.
they don't make you jump through hoops like other lenders, like actually having to notarize and do all this other stuff. You just sign a DocuSign with them, and then they'll fund it for you. So
Nice. Well,
yeah,
that's
but
my backup for Monday.
yeah, but yeah, I wanted to mention that like for you if you ever want to use them, but also if you ever have a buyer like you mentioned who's doing a B2C, and like you said, their transactional funder is like delaying stuff, I would recommend this person to anybody. I've recommended them multiple times, but they're just the fastest and best I've ever used. So
Awesome.
and they make it super easy, and they take everything off your plate where you just send them your attorney's contact, and then they just do everything with them. Like you don't have to do anything. So it's nice. But I've
Cool.
used them all the way from like 50K up to 690K I do with them. So, but yeah. So yeah,
That's great.
just wanted to mention that to you in case you want a backup plan for that closing tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, my plan A is that a couple of these ones that are supposed to close in the morning, and then I can wire the funds in the afternoon. That's a little
Yeah.
bit dicey, a little bit like a nail biter. Yeah,
Yeah. But
but
yeah,
we'll
if you
see.
absolutely need to close it, he will definitely close it for you. So
Cool. Thank you.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. If you listened this far, and yeah, give us your questions and feedback, and uh, we'll see you on the next one.